episode 159, IRONMAN 70.3 Augusta with Richard. Welcome to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. To the perfect race. Today I'm talking with Richard Cannon about his first 70.3 at Augusta 70.3 that took place on September 23rd, 2018. He had an amazing time of 5 hours, 1 minute, and 52 seconds for his very first 70.3, which was also his third triathlon. The temperature on race day was 72 and rose to 90, and the water temperature was around 78 or 79 degrees. Welcome to the show, Richard. I look forward to hearing about your race at Augusta.
Thanks for having me, Terry. I'm excited to talk to you.
Awesome. So, what made you want to do this race over the other 70.3s that were offered?
It's actually funny. We moved back in May of last year, and our neighbor was a triathlete, and that's kind of how I got started in triathlon. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I want to go big. So she was thinking about doing a 70.3. So I was like, I'll do one with you. And a friend of hers actually was doing Augusta, so she kind of picked it out for me. And then she ended up getting injured and not being able to do it. And I went on with it and went to Augusta and did it.
Nice. So going into this race, what was your training like?
I trained probably an average of 10 hours a week, probably maxed out at 12. I did swim, bike, run at least 3 days a week. Typically I would run 4 days a week, with a couple bricks.
Okay. Were you doing a lot of certain kind of training with heart rate or power or anything like that?
Well, I don't have a power meter or anything, but I basically used Matt Dixon's Fast Track Triathlete book as a guide. And really, like I said, I was kind of coaching myself, kind of just using podcasts and books and videos online to kind of guide my training. I would say I was probably a little ignorant with my training. Was learning as I went, and basically trained a heart rate, I guess, mostly. I usually did an interval run during the week, an endurance run on the weekend. Same thing with bike intervals during the week, and then a long bike ride every Saturday.
So were you doing a lot of runs off the bike on the weekends then?
I usually ran off the bike every weekend. At one point I did a 4-hour ride and I didn't run off the bike then, but pretty much every Saturday I was running at least 20 minutes off bike. And then on Sunday I would run at least an hour up to 100 minutes.
Wow. Now with these type of training intervals, I know you live down in Louisiana and it's pretty warm down there right now. So
yes,
how are you battling the heat?
I would only run in the mornings, usually before daylight. I never got out after 9 o'clock. Just tried to avoid the high heat. I think I went back and looked because I started worrying about not running in the heat enough. And I think the highest temperature I ran was like 87. So the humidity is what kills you in the morning though.
Right. Because knowing that you're going to be running in the most warm part of the day versus being in the coolest part of the day, do you feel like that had an impact on your training at all?
I was worried it would, but I don't think that it did, just because the humidity over there was so much lower. It was 90 degrees, but the humidity was like 40%. And I was like, this doesn't even feel that warm. You know, a lot of people are complaining about the heat, but I didn't feel it as intensely, I don't think, as a lot of people did.
Right. Now, going into this race, what was the longest swim, bike, and run? I know you kept off your bike at 4 hours.
Yeah, that was my longest bike ride. Longest swim was 4,000 yards. I typically swam between 8,000 and 10,000 yards a week. So I was never really under 3,000 yards, but the longest was 4,000. Longest run was 100 minutes, which was about 11 miles.
Okay. Now, with this 4,000-yard swim, was this a lot of intervals, or was this a straight through 4K? What was this?
It was a lot of intervals. Typically, my swims have different sets. I usually have some 25s in there, usually have some 100s, some 250s. I think the longest straight swim was like 800 yards. It was mostly all intervals, paddle work, buoy work.
Okay.
A lot of that. Started using the snorkel too, which I really think helped me with my alignment, and really that's when I really started seeing a lot of improvements in the pool.
Nice. Now, where did you get these workouts from? Were you just making them up yourself?
I used Matt Dixon's workouts because I knew he worked closely with Jerry Rodriguez. I listened to the Tower 26 podcast, and a lot of his workouts are similar to Jerry Rodriguez. So he has 3 swim workouts a week. I made sure I did every one of those every week. And like I said, I used the buoy, the paddles, the snorkel, everything. And I really went from like a 150 per 100-yard swimmer to a mid 120 per 100-yard swimmer during my training.
Okay. Now, with all of this training that you're doing in the pool and all your training that you're doing outside and all of this, did you notice that you lost weight in training, or did you gain weight in training? What was this like for you?
I actually stayed about the same. And I really, probably my biggest struggle through the whole thing was diet.
Really?
Yeah. I ate plenty, probably too much, and ate a lot of the wrong things, I think. So I typically saw my weight fluctuate between 168 and 172. Never really gained much, never really lost much.
Okay. Now, if we take a look at your nutrition on your endurance rides and on your longer workouts, what did this look like for you?
So typically, if I was an hour or less, I wouldn't take in any nutrition. I would eat maybe a piece of toast, peanut butter toast before a workout. Even if it was a long workout, I would typically just eat peanut butter toast. And then if it was an hour or less, didn't have anything. If it was a run over an hour, shot blocks, always carried water with me just because of the heat and the humidity. And then on my rides, I would use tailwind, picky bars, shot blocks, all that for my long rides. And then afterwards, I usually tried to eat something with protein and carbs within an hour after I got done with a workout.
Okay. Do you feel like you wanted to have more energy on the longer stuff, being that you're using different types of nutrition, or did you feel like this worked out well for you?
I think it worked out well. I mean, I was kind of experimenting the whole time because I just didn't know, I mean, I'd only done 2 sprints, and, nutrition is not really a huge deal there. So I was just trying different things, and I didn't really get too crazy. I have a pretty tolerant stomach, so the tailwind, I started out using it. It worked good. It seemed like when I was riding, I never bonked. So I was like, I'm just going to go with that and use that, make sure I get plenty of fluids. And like I said, use the shot blocks. I've been using those for about a year. So they seem to work well.
Okay. Now, in regards to your training, did you miss any training or get injured in the previous 6 months going into this race?
I did not, fortunately, get any injury. And I did a 16-week block. And for the whole block, I may have missed 6 days of training. Wow. At one point, I was like, man, I'm tired. And I went back and looked, and I had trained 27 days in a row without a rest day. And I was like, okay, it's time for a rest. And that was probably in mid-August. So after that, I made it a point, like every 10 days, let's take it easy. But it just, it got to where it was just like a habit. Like I felt like I woke up in the morning and I need to do something. I have to move. I got to train. And like I said, I never really felt the fatigue until towards the mid to end of August.
Wow. Now, with your normal day-to-day life, what are you doing aside from training, racing, and all this fun stuff?
Very busy life. I'm a nurse anesthetist, so I have to be at work before 7 in the morning. So I have to get up at 4:30 to get workouts in. I'm usually in the pool by 5 o'clock on my swim days. I have 3 young kids, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old who has autism, and a 20-month-old. So it's really crazy. I typically get my workouts done in the morning. I have a job where I'm fortunate enough to get off early some days. Sometimes I get off around noon or 1, and if I can get a workout in then, I do. but usually after 3 o'clock, from 3 o'clock on, I don't get the chance to train. I'm around chasing kids, helping kindergartner do homework, helping wife around the house. Wow. So she'll, doing all I can, so she'll allow me to continue training and doing triathlon.
It seems like the support of your wife is very critical to your success.
Absolutely. She put up with me. I'll say that. It was a learning experience for both of us, since it was my first intense training. It was long, and towards the end of July, she was getting a little irritated with me, but we figured out how to make it work. Every Sunday, I would type up on a Word document what my plan was for the week, how much time I planned to spend on each discipline. I printed it out and gave it to her every Sunday. And from then on, it seemed to work a lot better, because she knew what to expect that week. Okay, Saturday, you got a 3-hour bike ride. Okay, I know that's coming in a week. So I think that helped. And like I said, it was a learning experience for both of us. I feel like I've learned a lot about myself. I think she learned a lot about herself. So it was a good experience overall.
Wow. So direct communication and being very open about what's coming and knowing what's on the plan really helps her understand
Absolutely
what to do on her end to prepare,
right,
because she has to watch 3 kids while you're out training, doing whatever you want to do.
Right. And, like I said, I tried to get most of my workouts done in the morning. During the week especially, I got up. I didn't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I would get up and go, just because I was like, this is going to be my only opportunity. I've got to go. So that was a big deal. And I think that helped her out a lot.
So what time were you going to bed then? I mean, you wake up at 4. You would need to go to bed at around 7, right?
Look, people who have hard time sleeping, I'm like, you need to start doing triathlon, and you need to have 3 young kids, because we put our kids down to bed at 7 o'clock, and 9 times out of 10, we are in bed by 8. We may not be asleep, but we are in bed by 8. Typically asleep by no later than 9 o'clock.
Wow. And then you're up, and then your wife gets to sleep in a little bit.
Right.
And right. She does a job too, right?
No, she stays at home.
Okay.
But I would say that's a pretty tough job. When I have all 3 of them by myself, I'm like, when are you coming home? They are, they're babies. They're still babies. They need you, So that's the thing. You can't just leave them in a room. They need you.
Wow.
For something.
Now, with the last 2 weeks going into this race, did you do a big taper, or did you kind of just maintain? What did this look like for you?
The Sunday that was 2 weeks out, I did a long brick. I think I did a long brick on that Saturday, like a 2.5 hour ride and a 30-minute run. And then I did an 80-minute run on the Sunday. With some intervals in between that. I did like some 5-minute intervals, 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off intervals. And then, that next week, I think I trained maybe 7 hours. I kept the intensity. I did some interval work. Nothing too long. And then the week of, I just kept the intensity, but just really shortened the workouts. I did like 30 to 40 minute workouts and just high intensity. But that was it. I swam 20 minutes on the Saturday before, and then I did a 20-minute spin on the exercise bike in the hotel.
Wow. So really not a lot of taper as far as intensity goes, but from a volume perspective, the volume probably winged back a lot. Yeah,
volume was, maybe 60% of what I had been doing.
Okay. Now, I know that you live down in Louisiana, and this race is in Georgia. When did you start traveling over to Georgia?
We left on Thursday afternoon, drove to Birmingham, which is a little further than halfway. And then Friday morning, we got up and drove into Augusta. I was able to get there to the convention, check in, go to the athlete briefing, and be done with the convention. So I didn't want to do anything Saturday. I didn't want to have any obligations other than turning my bike in on Saturday, and that was it.
Okay. Now, from a time management perspective, how did you manage your time in the 2 days that you were there in Augusta?
So you're talking about Friday and Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, like we got there at about 3:00. We didn't get in a real big hurry to get into town because we didn't have that but 4 hours to drive. We checked in, went and ate dinner, and then went to the hotel and got in bed. I mean, we were in bed at like 7:00, honestly. And I think I slept almost 10 hours on Friday night because I knew that I might have a hard time sleeping Saturday. So, yeah, I slept about 10 hours, got up at about 6. I went and did a 20-minute swim at the YMCA. They had a YMCA that would allow the athletes to swim for free. Went around, drove around a little bit, looked for Augusta National. I wanted to see as much as I could of the golf course there. And then I got to the hotel, changed, did a little spin on the exercise bike, and then we went and ate breakfast and we drove the bike course after that. I forgot about that. We went and drove the 50 miles on the bike course. I wanted to at least see it, know what to expect. They really didn't want people riding it just because it really was not a safe area to ride without some kind of escort or lane closure. So we rode that, and then I got back to the hotel, ate some dinner, and we were in bed again by 7:00.
Okay, so for dinner, what did you do for dinner?
I did Italian. I usually always do some kind of Italian food. I did chicken parmesan.
Nice.
That's kind of my go-to. My first real event was last year at St. Jude's Memphis Half Marathon.
Yeah?
And that was my first real endurance event, and started eating chicken parmesan there, and that's kind of just been what I try to eat the night before.
So I've done that race, and it's a good race, and I really want to go back to the pool there. Did they still make you go up the stadium after you get done?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, they do. Now, I think they're changing it for this year, but last year, yeah, the year I ran, it's hilly too. It's very hilly. And you have to run into the stadium, and then, yeah, it's a really cool race. I think they had 25,000 last year. It was fun.
Wow, it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
I did that in 2008, I believe.
Okay.
So it's been, 10 years since I've done that. Man, that's craziness. Well, anyway, I'm not that old. Just put that in your back pocket somewhere. Don't mention that again. It's okay. Now, as far as the check-in process for your bike, what was this like for you? I mean, this is your first time at this big of an event with Ironman plastered everywhere, and
right.
Was the energy high for you? What was this like?
I was actually pretty calm for bike check-in. I got down there. I tried to wait as late as I could. I couldn't wait till I waited till 3:00. That was as late as I could wait. I think it closed at 5. So I went down there. I had a good spot. I was like 4 from the end on the inside. I had a good marker on the end. There was a big sign that marked my row. And it was good. I just went down there, turned my bike in, let a little air out of the tires because it was so hot. And, got done with that and went and ate and got in bed. I was actually really calm considering what was about to happen the next day. Right. I feel like.
And this is your first time doing a 70.3. And when you got into transition, did you look around in transition to kind of get a really good idea of, all right, here's swim out, and then walk from swim out to your bike? And
absolutely.
To your bike, and then go to your bike out?
Absolutely. I checked out where, swim, where we come out into the swim. It was like a quarter mile out of the swim. Yeah, it was. You run up the boat dock, and it was a long. If you look at my transition time for T1, it was like almost 4 minutes. It was a long transition. And then I scoped out where all the bike in and bike out was and how it was going to be. And like I said, I tried to mark where my row was, and I had a good marker for that. But I try not to pay attention to too many other people. All the fancy bikes and everything. I'm still on a road bike, so I'm trying not to pay attention and try to get myself psyched out or intimidated by anybody else.
So hold on. You're still using a road bike, and you biked a 238.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So you're in bed the night before. You get in bed about 7, 8 o'clock-ish? Yeah.
LSU was playing, so I watched a little bit of the LSU Louisiana Tech game.
Wow. So I interviewed a guy, Adam Hall, recently, and he was actually at that game.
Okay.
So pretty cool. So you get up on race day. What time is your alarm set for?
I set it for 4:40. I wanted to get up. I wanted to take a shower, and go down and eat some breakfast. So 4:40. I planned on getting to transition about 6 o'clock. I didn't want to get there too early and be standing around too long.
Okay. Now, what's your race day morning ritual like before you leave your hotel room?
Nothing too crazy. I'll get up. I go down. I got up, went down, had a bagel with peanut butter, grabbed a couple bananas, had some coffee, started sipping on a little bit of water. Then I went upstairs, got all my stuff, got my backpack. My wife, she stayed at the hotel. We were in a really good spot. We were at the downtown Holiday Inn Express, so she could walk to everything. We had never had to use the car.
Nice. So you got to worry about parking.
No parking. We didn't have to worry about it at all. They had a shuttle actually that took you to transition. So I got on that shuttle at about 6 o'clock. Went to transition.
Okay. Now, whenever you got to transition, what were you doing in transition aside from airing up your tires? And I know you put 90 PSI in there, right? So
right.
Did you use somebody else's pump?
I used somebody else's pump. I didn't want to take mine and have to leave it. So there was a guy that looked very annoyed with everybody using his pump, but he let me use it, Did that, set up my spot, put my nutrition out, and I wasn't in there very long, maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.
Got in and got out.
Now, I know that we actually talked a little bit before your race on the way over there to Augusta about your nutrition plan. What was your nutrition plan for this race?
So I use Tailwind. That's my main nutrition source. We had talked about, I told you I planned on using some solids and everything, and you thought it might be too many calories. And after thinking about it, I was like, yeah, it's probably too many calories that I'm going to try to consume. So I used the Tailwind, 3 bottles with 4 packets. So that was 800 calories total over 3 bottles. And then I used shot blocks. I did have some solid nutrition in case I decided I wanted to use it, but I never did. But that was my plan going in. I was going to try to take in a bottle every 15 miles. So I was going to take in a bottle before every aid station and pick up water to replace that bottle.
Okay. Now, from a hydration standpoint, how much water do you think you got on this bike course?
Probably, counting 4 bottles, counting my Tailwind. If you count my Tailwind, if you're talking just pure water, 2 bottles of pure water.
That's about right. Now, whenever you leave transition, you understand at this point that it's probably not going to be wetsuit legal because they've already announced the temperature.
Yeah, they pretty much announced the day before that it was not going to be wetsuit legal.
Okay. Now, did you really want to rely on the wetsuit, or did you?
I didn't care. I've only swam in it one time, 200 yards in the pool, so I really didn't care. I wasn't ever expecting it to be a wetsuit legal race until maybe 2 weeks ago. I thought it might be.
Okay, and you don't really struggle in the swim at all because, you had a sub 30-minute swim here.
Right. I feel like it's one of my stronger suits now than it was even 16 weeks ago. I feel really strong in the swim.
So what do you think actually got you from going, well, I don't really like to swim, to actually having a good confidence level in the swim?
Just putting time in the water. That's the number one thing, I think. I was in the water 2.5 to 3 hours a week. So I think just consistency and getting a really good feel for the water made me very confident to be able to cover the distance and cover it fast.
Okay. Now, you get to the corral and you start seating yourself in the rolling start, I'm assuming here. How was this process for you?
It was the first year they've ever done it. So I don't know if it was unorganized or what, but it seemed like we stood around for a long time. The pros started at 7:30 for the men, 7:40 for the women, and the age group started at 7:50. But I was in the 30 to 33 minute corral because I didn't really know how much the current was going to help. And I wasn't in the water till almost 8:40.
Wow.
Yeah, we stood around for a really long time. So I don't know what the deal was with that. I don't know if it was just something new or I don't know what the holdup was, but it took forever.
So was your anxiety level going up at this point?
It really was not. I started talking to the guy next to me. He was from Baton Rouge, so we started talking about, Louisiana and all this. And then there was a woman in front of me that just got back from the 70.3 World Championships, and she had talking about all the races she had won. So it kind of distracted me. I was just talking to them, talking triathlon, and I really was never nervous all the way to the swim start.
Wow. So even though this is your first time, your anxiety and your nervousness really wasn't present.
Right. I think, like I said, I just tried to displace it with talking to people and, being social. I think that really helps with your anxiety.
Okay. Now you get into the swim. Once you actually get into the water, how does the swim course go for you?
Oh, the swim was awesome. I mean, it's probably I haven't done a whole lot of open water swims, but it was the best that I'd ever done by far. The water was perfect. The temperature was perfect. The water clarity was like 15 feet.
Wow.
You were never crowded. It was a point-to-point swim, so you'd have to worry about turning. When you were swimming up on somebody, you would see them, 15 feet ahead, so you could, go around them. There was never any bumping or anybody swimming over you or anything like that. It was great.
Wow.
And you got a little push from the current, but it was an awesome swim. It was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Wow. Now, before the race actually started, what was your mindset for your entire day? Did you have a way that you wanted to kind of approach this from a data or a strategy perspective? What does this look like?
I had time and I had strategy. On the swim, I didn't want to overdo it. I knew I was going to get some help from the current there. So I just wanted to try to have a solid swim. And I wanted to be under 30 minutes. That was my goal. So I did that. And, trying to make sure that I think ahead. So like at the end of the swim, I was thinking, okay, when we get out of the water, don't get up too fast. You don't want to get dizzy. You don't want to spin. You don't want to run too hard. Leave your cap on, leave your goggles on, take your speed suit off. I was kind of thinking ahead to transition. On the bike, my strategy, actually changed a lot after I saw the bike course, because on the map, it looked really flat heading out. And then there was a few climbs and then flat coming back, but that wasn't really the case. There's a lot of overpasses, and I don't know if the elevation game picks it up or not, but there was some pretty steep overpasses. So, and some really big hills, bigger hills than we have here, just not that many. So my strategy was to, hit the flats hard and then don't push up the hills. I never even got out of the saddle going up any hill. I stayed in a good gear and tried to be steady up the hills, not try to kill myself up the hills.
Okay. Now, whenever you get done with the swim, how was T1 for you? You mentioned it was long. You have to go up a dock and all this fun stuff.
T1 was long. Like I said, I didn't get dizzy, thank goodness. I was really worried about getting dizzy or feeling faint coming out of the water, but I didn't. It was a long uphill out of a boat dock or a boat ramp. So you ran up the hill and about a quarter mile run all the way to your bike. Just make sure I did everything that I was planning on doing. Got my shoes on, I put socks on just for a long ride. Helmet on, got out of there as quickly as I could, which was like 3 minutes and 40 seconds. But I did it as quickly as I could, as controlled as I could.
Okay. Now, are you using Sammy cream or anything like that?
Nope, didn't use any, and I wish I would have.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I had
It's got a little raw?
Yeah, I got a little chafed at the end of the day.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Made that post race shower a little rough.
And they're screaming. Man, so you get out on the bike ride. How was the first few miles of the bike ride for you?
It was good. It was really flat. So I went all out, and I was looking at my heart rate on my computer, and I was like, man, I don't feel like my heart rate is 170 beats a minute. But yeah, I was running like 170 beats, and I was like, man, am I really running that high? I don't feel it. I was like, something's wrong with my heart rate monitor. But after I looked back at it on the data sheet, I was. But the first 3 miles, there was a lot of railroad crossings, and they were really rough railroad crossings. And fortunately, they had them covered, but it was like water bottle graveyard when you came through there. There's water bottles, people's bento boxes, everything all over the road from where they're dropping them coming over those rough railroad tracks.
How many railroad crossings do you think there were?
In the first 3 miles, probably at least 5, maybe 6.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I know at Chattanooga, there's 3. And it's the same way. If people aren't prepared for it, they will drop their bottles. And
Right.
you have to just look out for them. And then there goes their nutrition plan.
Absolutely. I was holding on to mine tight. I bought the Gatorade squirt bottles and poured the Gatorade out and used those, and man, they never budged in my water bottle carriers. I mean, they that's what I'll go to from here on out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you got towards the first 15 miles, how was this course for you? Was it a rough road, nice road? What was this?
The roads were great. We went on a main highway out of town, so the roads were really well kept. They had a whole lane blocked for us. I didn't see much drafting. I mean, there's going to be everybody's going to be relatively close, but there was no blatant drafting with anybody going on. The first big hill was at mile 12, and I took it good. I just was steady up it, constantly passing people up. Never got out of the saddle though. And then mile 15, I dropped my nutrition, one of my tailwinds on the front bottle cage. Come around a curve, and the water bottle came out and just shattered. So I just kept on it. So I had to mentally prepare myself for what I was going to do next, because I was planning on just grabbing plain water every aid station and just replace my tailwind with the plain water. So I had to do something different. I had to get some more calories. So I took a Gatorade Endurance and a bottle of water on the next aid station.
So mentally, you already had to have a plan B for your nutrition in place.
Right. Like I knew that if I drop a bottle, I'm just going to use the Gatorade Endurance on the course. And I wish I would have tried it before, because it's painfully sweet, like almost too sweet. I was worried it was going to upset my stomach, but I went ahead and took one whole bottle of it, and everything worked out okay.
Wow. Now, whenever you start thinking of your strategy, are you trying to hit a certain cadence, heart rate, or anything like this?
Yeah, I was wanting to stay in the mid 80s on my cadence. I'm really not super scientific on cycling. I just try to maintain a certain speed overall, and a cadence to achieve that speed, if that makes sense to you. It's just a feel thing, really, for me right now.
Right. Now, were you wanting to stay in aero? I know you probably have clip-on bars on your road bike.
I do. I stayed in aero the whole time, unless I was climbing.
Okay.
And I really attacked the downhills. I tried to really push down the downhills, really push the flats, and like I said, take it easy on any hills there were.
Okay. Now, I know we both know Nolly. Were you doing a lot of group rides on Tuesday with that group?
Nope. I trained 99.9% alone.
Really?
Yes. Yep. I did a lot of long rides by myself. I like it and I don't like it. It's fun to have a social aspect and be around people, but I think that it builds some mental toughness when you're out there all alone and you're 50 miles from home and you're like, it's all you. You have no help, nobody pulling you to get you back. I really liked that aspect of it in a way.
Okay. Now, from a safety standpoint, how does your wife feel about this?
Hey, everybody. I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast, and I just want to let you know that I've enjoyed having so many people on this show, and I couldn't really do it without your support. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, and being a part of what I'm doing. If you would, take a few moments to leave me a review over on iTunes. It would help me out tremendously, and enjoy the show.
From a safety standpoint, how does your wife feel about this?
She is very uneasy about it. I talked to you, and I got the Road ID app, and that helped a lot with her. I had a Road ID, but I didn't have the app. I didn't really even know about it. That helped with it. But what really helped was about 7 weeks ago, I got a Wahoo kicker. So once I got that, I rode one time outside in the last 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you're training one time in the last 7 weeks going into this race. A lot of this is alone in training and just in general. I mean, almost all of it's by yourself.
Yep.
But yet you still went into this race knowing how to tackle the downhills, and you felt really confident on the bike. with your ability on the bike and from a
Right.
handling and people around you and all this. How
Yep.
did you go from training with no one around you, training all by yourself, to getting to the race and feeling comfortable being around people and being around different people's abilities that you don't know?
Well, I think it goes back to my teenage years. I raced motocross. So for about 10 years, I raced motocross, and I'm always been comfortable on two wheels, handling and everything like that. So I think that really had a lot to do with it. And I just try to stay really aware of everybody. I assume that everybody doesn't know what they're doing. You know, does that make sense? I always, when I'm going out to pass somebody, I always look over my left shoulder to make sure that nobody's already coming around me. I just try to stay really aware of what's going on, and I do that even when I'm alone on a long bike ride. I stay really aware of the cars, where they're at. I'm always paying attention if somebody's pulling out. I just staying aware and staying in the moment. That's the thing.
Okay. Now, did you see a lot of flats or mechanical issues on the bike ride?
I saw several flats. Yeah,
Really?
I probably saw 2 or 3 flats, and I saw somebody with a broken chain.
Man.
Yeah.
Now, for the aid stations, did you have enough time to get what you needed before the discard station or the discard sign?
Oh yeah, they had plenty of room, and they had that aid station. I mean, you could see them coming from a ways away, so you could prepare mentally, and had plenty of time.
Okay. Now, as far as the bike ride goes, how do you know how hard to push on the earlier stages of the bike ride versus the later portions of the bike ride?
I guess just feel, honestly. Like I said, ignorance, I guess. I developed a strategy in my head, and, just listening to you and listening to other people on podcasts and books, just kind of formed a strategy on my own on what I needed to do and when I needed to do it. Like I said, I tried to stay consistent. I didn't want to push too hard at any point in the race. Like I said, I wanted to take the opportunities where I could push, like the flats or the downhills. I didn't want to wear myself out just because I didn't know how my legs were going to feel to run 13 miles afterwards. So I didn't want to overdo it at any point.
Did you have a heart rate cap or a speed cap to kind of mitigate the risk of not having a burned out run?
No, I really didn't know. I would say it was all just feel. I really didn't have any kind of cap at all. Like I said, my heart rate was a lot higher than what I was expecting to start. And then when I looked at probably for the first 25, 30 miles, my heart rate was like above 170. I was like, man, I'd never trained with a heart rate this high. I don't know what's going on. And it eventually came back down. But, I was basing it on feel, how I felt on the bike. And like I said, it wasn't super hot. I got some salt tabs just in case, but I never really sweated a lot on the bike. In which I knew that was going to help me in the run. So I just tried to stay steady, tried to ride within my limits that I knew I could, and that was it. Really, it was just a feel thing.
Are you normally a heavy sweater?
Yes.
So,
I normally am.
So being that you're normally a heavy sweater and you knew that you weren't sweating on the bike, how did you know that this was going to help you on the run?
I knew I was well hydrated just because I would been monitoring my weight, making sure that I was staying in the 170 range. I'd taken in, 3 liters of water the day before and the day before that, pretty much every day that week. So I knew I was hydrated. I just never felt hot. Honestly, I mean, I was wet coming out of the bike. The humidity was low. The temperature was in the, around 80. I mean, it's been the last 2 weeks over here in Louisiana, it's been 100, high 90s or 100. So I'd never really, it was like 80 to 90% humidity. Yeah. In the mornings, a lot of times 100%. So I never really felt the heat. I was like, man, I'm not sweating much. I was like, am I going to take a salt tab or not? I'm like, probably not. I'm not sweating.
Wow.
So I was very fortunate with the weather. I thought it was perfect weather for a race.
Nice. Now, as far as the bike ride goes, is there anything you'd want someone to know, to be aware of, that hasn't done this bike course before?
The number one thing would be watch out for those railroad tracks. I figured I was going to see people on the ground just because they were so hairy. But they covered them and they were nice. And, the railroad tracks were a big deal. And, it was really a great course. It was fun. It had some hills, but not any brutal, kill your soul hills. It had some fast sections. It had a lot of flat sections. It was just a really, really fun course. It went by really fast. And they had it marked really well. There was a lot of intersections, but they had cops there. You didn't have to worry about cars. Like I said, you had a whole lane or a whole road to yourself. They really did a good job with traffic control, for sure.
Nice. Now, mentally, did you have any dark spots on the bike ride?
I didn't. I was having a blast. I feel like I probably should have seated myself a little higher in the swim, and I thought that during the bike ride. I was like, I'm passing a lot of people that are older. I'm not saying that they're not fast, but I mean just a lot of people that I was a lot faster down on the bike. I think I only got passed by 3 people on the bike, and I was passing a lot of people, and I was like, am I pushing too hard? Do they know something I don't know? But I was like, I feel good, so I'm just gonna keep going. And but that was it. Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Pretty much it.
Now, the last few miles of the bike course, are you doing anything to start preparing you to start running?
Yeah, the last 3 miles it was basically the same as going in. I was flat, so I just tried to spin a little higher, mid 90 cadence, stretch out a little bit. I took an ibuprofen to get ready for the run. I didn't really have much soreness in my lower back like I normally do on long rides. It's more like around my shoulders. I was feeling a little tight there. Yeah, I don't know if it was partially swim or I don't know what it was, but I was feeling a little tight around my shoulders. So I took the ibuprofen and just tried to spin. I got out of my shoes with about a quarter mile left to go. And that was it.
Okay. Now you
tried to make sure I wasn't drafting or anything like that. I was really worried about that. I didn't want to be seen as drafting at any point.
Right. Now, as far as T2 goes, how does T2 go? It went a lot faster than T1.
T2 is way faster than T1 because you come in off the bike. I was about 2/3 of the way back, and the run start was at the very end, and the run start started as soon as you crossed through the tent. So it was a lot closer. The run start was a lot closer than it was from the swim.
When you get through the tent?
Yeah, well, when you get through the little blow up IRONMAN thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when your time started. So it was real close.
For some reason, I thought you actually had like a changing tent here.
No.
Okay. No. So whenever you actually got to the run, how does the first few miles of the run go for you?
I was a little stiff. It took me a couple miles to get my legs back, but I knew coming in, and I thought about it on the end of the bike. Okay, you're fixing to start running. When you get out there, pace yourself. Don't go out and blast too hard, because I usually run pretty decently off the bike, but I'll look down and I'm running way faster than what I should be running. So I made a conscious effort to hold back a little bit, get my legs under me, and let the race kind of come to me. And it did. I mean, not long after that, I started hitting the pace, my target pace, and I was able to maintain it.
What was your target pace?
I wanted to run an 8:20 mile.
Okay,
I wanted to average about that.
You wanted to get a run split of about 154, 155?
Yeah, I was thinking I could do a 150. I mean, honestly, coming into it, I was like, I think I can do a 150. So if I can stay, around 8:20 most of the run, I think I'll be right close to that.
Okay. Now, the heat at this point was starting to rise a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Okay, so from a nutrition standpoint and a hydration standpoint, how are you dealing with the heat?
Well, we had talked about on the run, I added that Nathan water bottle carrier. Well, I had a whole bottle of water on my back cage that I was going to use. I dropped it with 3 miles left to go. So that strategy went out the window. So what I wanted to do was each aid station, I wanted to make sure that I got water and got it in my mouth. and I wanted to make sure I got any kind of ice or sponges that they had available. So every aid station, I was getting 2 cups of water, as much ice as I could, as many sponges as I could, put the ice and the sponges down my shirt, and just keep going.
Okay. Now, for this course, were you using a sleeve kit or a sleeveless kit?
Sleeve.
So what made you want to go to a sleeve kit versus sleeveless?
Just looks cool. I mean, no real super strategy with that. I just, I have a sleeveless kit, and I bought another one. I bought a sleeved one, and I was gonna, that's what I wanted to wear.
Okay.
Nothing strategic about it.
Yeah, because especially on this type of course, knowing that the sun's going to be an issue, that's less sunscreen you have to put on.
Right.
It's a little bit better.
And I thought about that afterwards. Like, I was like, do I need sunscreen? I was like, no, not really. Only my lower legs and forearms are going to be showing. I don't really need any sunscreen.
Right. Now, whenever you start getting to the middle portion of the runs, mile 4, 5, and 6, how was this going for you?
I felt great. When I ran, this is my second half marathon ever. So when I ran St. Jude's, I got with a guy that paced me. Like, he was running the pace I wanted to run. I just stayed with him, let him stay in front of me. Same thing happened with this. I got behind a guy. He was running the pace I wanted to run. So I just hung with him. Unfortunately, he was on his second lap when I was on my first, because it was a 2-loop course. But I got to stay with him for half the race, so that was nice.
Wow. Now, you're using a watch for this run course, right?
Yeah.
So what data screens are you looking at?
I never looked at heart rate, not one time the whole race, other than on my bike, because on the bike, I have it on my bike computer. But on my watch, I was just looking at my pace.
So strictly pace? Strictly
pace. I try to base everything on feel. Like, if I feel okay, it doesn't matter. I guess it does matter which heart rate it is, but to me, as long as I'm feeling like I'm within myself, I'll go with it. I never felt like I was pushing too hard on the run. I never felt like I was out of my comfort zone, if that makes sense. I just tried to, 8:20 is a comfortable pace for me. And so I thought that's why I picked that pace.
Okay. So it's not too much and too hard for you, but it's something that you can maintain for the duration.
Right. It's a little bit harder than completely comfortable, but it's a pace that I can hold.
Right. Now, I know this run course has a whopping 23 feet of gain on it, so it is damn near pancake flat here.
Yeah.
So how was this opposed to running in the hills? I mean, I don't think you're used to running on hills, but...
Well, actually, my neighborhood, we live on the west side of the Ouachita River. The east side of the river is flat, pancake flat. We live on the hilly side. So I have a 5-mile route that I run in my neighborhood that has 200 feet of gain on 5 miles. So I pretty much train on hills.
Okay.
Most of the time.
That gave you a little bit of an advantage here?
Absolutely. I don't have to run quite as many miles overall, I feel like, if I'm running that route. I feel like I'm getting just as much workout doing that 5-mile route as I would be if I ran 8 or 9 miles maybe on a flat terrain.
That makes sense. Now, were there any hard spots of the run course for you where mentally you just couldn't really get it together?
I tried to not think about any kind of pain or how long I was going to be out there. When I started feeling bad, I was like, okay, just maintain form. If you just maintain good form, you're going to run. You're going to run the speed you want to run. So anytime I got into a dark spot, or I was like, this is really hard, or I tried to quickly put my attention somewhere else. I put it on form. Just run with good form. That's what I kept telling myself.
Okay. Now, was there anything funny that you saw from an athlete perspective on the run course?
Funny from the athlete perspective. Oh yeah, I did. I saw one guy stop and start flossing, doing the floss. Yeah, they had the music set up, and there was music everywhere. The fan support was awesome. Yeah, he stopped running and did the little floss dance. That was pretty funny.
The floss dance.
Yeah, you haven't seen the floss?
Apparently, I am missing out on one.
You need to look that up, and then just picture this pale white, redheaded dude stopping to do the floss in the middle of the half marathon.
Well, I'll have to look that up after we get off of here.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you start getting towards the later portion of the run, mile 10, 11, and 12, how are you doing at this point?
So, like I said, it's a 2-loop course, and when I got on the second loop, I looked at my watch, probably mile 9, and I was like, huh. But let's backtrack. When I jumped in the swim, I forgot to start my watch. So I didn't know. I was probably 30 seconds or a minute into the swim. I was like, oh, crap, I didn't start my watch. So I looked down. I was able to look under the water, start my watch. So I didn't really know what my exact time was. But I looked down at my watch at mile 9. I was like, I might be able to break 5 hours. So, at that point, I was starting to get a blister on my toe, which was really bothering me. I was a little tight, but I was like, I'm going to push it and just see if I can get down to an 8-minute mile. Because I figured if I could run like a 8-minute, 7:55 mile, that I would be right there. And I pushed it for about a mile, and I was like, I got to 8:10, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm not going to kill myself. I'm just going to stay where I'm at, finish strong, and that's what I did.
Wow. So you obviously have overall time on your watch too, and not just pace.
Yeah. I flipped it to the overall times just to see where I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you start getting towards the finish line, the barricades start lining after you make the turn to go to the finish rather than go to the second loop. How was this experience for you?
It was perfect. I couldn't have, written it any better. There was nobody in front of me, nobody behind me. I was all by myself. It was just a really good experience. Come around that corner, you probably had 0.2 of a mile, and you could see that red carpet. And my wife was actually right at the finish line. We got the VIP experience for her, so she was right there at the finish line right before I crossed, and it was a really good experience. Totally by myself. I loved it.
Wow. So, how was the finish line experience for you, and what was your emotions like going into the finish line?
I was a little bit emotional. 16 weeks of hard training, and then it to achieve your goals and to give it your all and succeed. That was a real emotional experience for me. I had a little tear in my eye for sure.
Wow. So after you crossed the finish line, what did you do next?
Well, I bent down and everybody was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine." And then I looked for my wife, and she came around and gave me a big hug and a kiss, and we took a couple pictures, and that was it, man. Felt great. Got a bottle of water, pizza, beer. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Wow. So what's something that you learned about this experience that you'd want to pass on to someone else who hasn't done this race course before?
Just that hasn't done this course, you should go do it. I mean, I really think, like I said, first one, only one, but just talking to people, I mean, the swim was unbelievable. The course was marked great. The run was fun. There were so many people, spectators out on the course. There was so much music. I mean, it just made the experience go by a lot faster. Even Miranda Caffrey said afterwards that it was the most electric 70.3 she's done in the U.S. So, I mean, I think that says a lot about it. And there were 3,700 athletes. They said it was the largest 70.3 in the world.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So looking back on it, you did 16 weeks of a solid build going into this race.
Yep.
How well prepared for this race do you feel like you were?
I feel like I was, considering I did it all myself, I feel like I was prepared as I could be. Now that I've learned a lot, I learned it throughout the process. There's some things I would change.
Like what?
I would probably do more speed work. I don't, like I said, I've only been running a year, seriously running. I don't really have a whole lot of base. So I think I did too much endurance running and not enough speed work. Does that make sense?
It does. So you spend a lot of your running time just running at the comfortable pace.
Oh, a lot of times, I did some short intervals, but I never did. I did like one track session. I didn't really do any real hill intervals. I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement on my mile time.
Okay.
I feel like that.
Now, if you could change anything about your actual race experience, what would you change?
Nothing.
Nothing.
To me, it was perfect first race experience. I stayed within myself. I met all of my times that I wanted to meet. It was a great experience. I felt like everything went as perfectly as it could go for me.
Okay. Now, with first-timers that are going to do this race next year, being that you're a first-timer yourself this year, what advice would you give them?
Any first-timer, I would say just be consistent. I feel like I was consistently training. I didn't make any excuses. I didn't miss. I just stayed consistent, did the work, and it'll come to you. I mean, all you have to do is just get out there and do it. It might be hard to get up in the morning to get your workout in, but just do it, and it's going to pay off in the long run.
So if we kind of look at this getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning for a second, you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do your workouts, to be this endurance athlete. You did not have to sign up for a 70.3. You don't even have to do endurance sports in the first place. But what actually drives you to be an endurance athlete?
It's something within myself. It's just a challenge for myself. I've always wanted to do the toughest things, do hard things. I never back down from a challenge. So that it's kind of a mental and physical challenge for myself. Can I do it? Can I push myself to the limit? That's really what drives me.
Because I know, what did you say, 20-something days in a row before you took the first rest day?
27 days in a row.
27 days in a row. So that means you were getting up at butt crack early for 27 days in a row before you even got a rest day at one point.
Yeah.
So you're already about.
But I think I'm only working out. I'm only doing 10 hours a week. I'm not doing like 15 or 20 hours a week. I'm doing 10 hours a week. But like I said, 4 o'clock in the morning is 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right, and you still have the option of just setting the alarm clock. Hey, I'm just gonna skip it today, and do that. We can do that later. So
Right. I'm not gonna lie. There were some mornings that I would wake up and I'd ask my wife do you care if I go after work today? And she'd be like, yeah, you can go. So, okay, I'm going back to bed. But most days I was in that pool at 5 in the morning, or I was in the garage on the trainer at 5 in the morning, or I was running at 5 in the morning. Most days I was doing that.
Wow. So for next time, what are you going to change for your training?
Like I said, I'm going to hopefully incorporate more speed work into my training. Looking back at it, I see that that's where I can make the most improvement in my time. Bike time, I feel like I'm about to probably can get a little bit faster on the bike that I have. But I think the most immediate improvement could be in my run.
Okay. So you stayed pretty close with the hotel, and you didn't have to worry too much about parking and the logistics.
Right.
Did you have any other issues as far as logistically going into this race other than driving?
None. I no issues logistically. Like I said, the hotel was right there. They had shuttle service. I mean, it was really. I'm glad I stayed where I stayed and didn't stay out of town and try to go a little bit cheaper. For your first race, I feel like it was very convenient, very calming. It was one less thing you had to worry about.
So staying closer to the race venue is less stressful.
To me, yeah.
I think that's
it was for me, especially for my first race. I didn't want that added stress of, we got to park. I got to get up a little bit earlier. I got to do this and do that. I wanted it to be as convenient as possible and have as little to worry about as possible going into the first race.
Okay. So being that this was your first 70.3, do you still have the race bracelet on?
Yep.
Why did you cut it off?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I might leave it on for a while.
Wow. So we covered quite a bit about your race. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Not really. I mean, like I said, if anybody's, going into their first race, just have fun with it and stay within yourself. That would be my biggest, advice to anybody doing their first one. And enjoy it. It was so much fun. I was going hard, but when I passed people on the bike, I was talking to them, or I was saying something, or on the run too. I tried to keep myself calm and keep my mind away from my legs hurting or anything like that. And it worked. It worked really well.
Right. So what's next for you, man?
I'm going to do a half marathon in 3 weeks.
Which one?
One local. It's a Monroe Distance Classic. It's their first one, so I'm going to go out and support that. And then Nolly's actually putting on a 10K half marathon in November, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do the 10K or the half marathon.
I did not know that she was doing that.
Yeah, she stays busy.
She's a beast. Really.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Man.
She's thrown this together, and it's going to be huge because she knows so many people and everybody likes her, and it's going to be a huge race.
Wow.
And then probably Galveston.
Galveston?
I think so.
It's a flat course.
It's what?
It's a flat course. I've done it 4 or 5 times now. It's good.
Yep. I'm going to have to ask you a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, what's on your bucket list, man?
On my bucket list, as far as race-wise, I want to, after this next year, I really want to try to travel a little bit. I want to do Madison. I want to do St. George. I want to do Mont Blanc. I want to do Boulder.
Now,
I kind of want to.
Threes that you want to do?
Yeah, 70.3. I don't think, at least now, I don't have the time to train for an Ironman. I'm just being realistic. I would love to do one, but I just logistically don't have the time to put the training in to do one. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not ready to make that commitment just yet.
So it seems like you understand that there is a level of sacrifice that your wife would need to make, and you would also
absolutely
for that big of a goal. And
absolutely,
you know that right now is not the best time for that.
Absolutely. If I'm still in it in 10 years, or maybe even 8 years or something, and I want to do one, that'll be a better time. I still have really young children. It's not just easy to pick up and go with them. We have to find luckily we have my mother-in-law. She's really good, and she keeps the kids for us when we travel and do stuff like this. So really, really thankful for her and all of my family.
Wow. So how can athletes follow you, man?
I'm on Facebook, Richard Cannon. Also on Instagram, RBCannon96, and also on Strava.
Nice. Well, Richard, it's been really great hearing about your race here at Augusta, and congrats on having a 5:01 for your first 70.3. That's a
Thank you.
Very respectable time. Now, I only have one more question for you, and you obviously listen to the show, so you know it's coming. What's your definition of a perfect race?
A perfect race is where you're able to give it 100% for the entire race and not have to, not have it come down to something mechanical or something GI, where you're able to do the very best you can for the entire time you're out on the course.
Wow. Well, do you have a way of measuring this?
I don't really know. Just, you have to, it's something that you define yourself. When you get done, did I give it everything I had? And if you did, and it didn't come down to anything like, mechanical or anything like that, something out of your hands, let's say that. If you're able to look back on it and say, I did the very best I could, that's a perfect race.
Wow. Well, Richard, thank you so much for coming on the show, spending some time with me today. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you soon, okay?
All right, man.
All right, have a good
Thanks
day.
for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoy the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.